Hi everyone, this is Amber from Ruby Dreams blog, and I am back. Let me just see if I can make sure this is right. My lighting literally died right before I went on, so I'm hoping that this natural lighting is going to work. So I am coming back today to talk to you guys a little bit about what I wish I would have known before getting breast implants. So if you joined me in my last two videos, I talked about some of my breast implant illness symptoms and just kind of my experience. So I actually took notes because there's so many things that I wish I would have known before getting implants. So for me specifically, I had wanted implants forever. Um, Probably since I was 18 or 19 years old. And it's funny, it was kind of back in the early 2000s when all of those plastic surgery shows were getting really popular. And now we have them a lot, but it was just when they were first coming out and they had all those makeover shows, and I was really, really into it. So I felt like watching, I mean, it sounds really, really silly to me now, but watching all of those videos, I remember thinking that was kind of like research, like I was more concerned about what they would look like, and what type of, surgery, what type of doctor to go to, all that kind of stuff, than I really was looking into how my body could possibly react to getting a foreign object placed into my body. So, one of the first things I wish I would have known before getting implants is one, um, it seems kind of weird, but if you actually go to the manufacturer website for any breast implants on the market today, they will list all symptoms or most symptoms of breast implant illness as we know it today. So they actually aren't keeping this information from us necessarily. It's on every brochure, manufacturer's brochure for all of the implants. However, when you go to a plastic surgeon and sit in their office, this is not information that they are giving you right off the bat. So one thing I wish I would have known is to where to look, and that would be literally the FDA website. In the FDA website, you can actually go and go to each specific type of implant and read the warnings that they have. With that, like I said, the plastic surgeons are really not giving you this information right off the bat. And if they were, if they were bringing up any of these autoimmune type symptoms, they're minimizing them quite a bit. So I just wish that I had known, one, where to find this information. A lot of people like to say, these aren't symptoms of having breast implants, all these long lists of autoimmune type symptoms. But if you go back and you look, the manufacturer themselves are saying, yes, these things happen. And next week, I don't know if it's next week, but in the next video I have coming up, I'm gonna talk a lot about where to find support. And most recently, there was actually an FDA meeting, and so we had quite a few different medical professionals, plastic surgeons actually come out and talk about these things. And Dr. Chung, you can look him up. He is a really big advocate for explanting and for breast implant illness. He actually has a YouTube video talking about all of this things that you can find on the manufacturer's brochures. And it's kind of crazy that the information has always been there. We're just really not looking for it. So I really wish I would have known to take that seriously and know where to look, and that it's not just the fine print. And for a lot of these symptoms, they say that, the percentage is so low. It's only 1 to 2% of people. We all know that those numbers can be really, I wouldn't say inaccurate, but even at 1 to 2% of how many women are getting implanted with these devices every year, it is a very, very large number of women that can be affected by this. So I just wish I would have really known the numbers, or really known like the long list of symptoms that you could actually have, that the manufacturer themselves are saying this can happen. I really wish I would have known that. I wish for sure my plastic surgeon would have told me. Um, One thing that they do, the only thing that I really knew was a risk was a capsular contracture, which is super, super common anyway. Also very dangerous. They didn't really go into detail about what that was or the complications that it could cause. They just said, oh, that's like a really rare thing. Don't worry about it. The other thing that they warned me about in the office was a rupture. And again, it's a very common problem that happens, and they didn't really go into the real true dangers of that, having all those things leak into your body. So for sure, just number one would be like knowing the manufacturer website have all this stuff. That should be enough to kind of make you go, like even they're saying these things can happen. I really wish I would have understood more about the autoimmune response that can happen with putting a foreign object into your body. So, obviously reading if I had known all of these things combined, one of just these things standing alone may not necessarily deter someone from getting implants, but all of the information combined, it's pretty, I don't know what the word is, but it's pretty convincing that, breast implants may not be the best decision for your health. So, I really wish I would have known more about your immune system and what can happen when you put something in it. So I am definitely not a scientist, but there is plenty of information out on the internet, and you can talk to different doctors, I'm sure, about what are the real risks involved in putting something into your body. I definitely did not know about something called a capsule that forms around your implant. And this was very interesting to me. And this is very interesting to find out that a lot of women don't realize this happens. And actually, I'll show you specifically. So here's an implant. These are actually my implants. And so what happens is when this is placed inside your body sees it as a foreign object. And so immediately a scar capsule will be formed around the implant. And so that's just different tissues, different, like your own tissue that forms around it to protect your body, the inside of your body, to what is in this implant. And so I just didn't realize that that was an autoimmune response that naturally happens. So your body literally is fighting this thing off since day one that it gets put into your body. So I just didn't realize that would happen. So I think if I would have looked into the actual process that happens when you get implants put in your body, I would have thought twice. Some of it seems really, really, really obvious to me now. But I just didn't think about it when I was getting them in. So, alongside with the autoimmune response that your body can have, I really wish I would have known about something called an MTHFR gene mutation. Now, this is a very, very common gene mutation that almost 50% of Americans have. And without going too much into it, it has a lot to do with how your body can detox different heavy metals. And that's another thing about these. I really wish I would have known what the ingredients were in making these implants. I had no idea all of the different things that were found inside implants. So that, coupled with knowing about how your body tries to detox these types of things, the autoimmune responses that you can have, would have done me it would have done me a lot of good to know. So knowing that there are, sorry, you guys, knowing that there are so many people that have this gene mutation that makes it more difficult to detox certain things out of your body. Basically what happens is you have that scar capsule that forms around the implant. And then all of the ingredients, like I said, your body immediately is fighting it off. So we know that that happens because the scar capsule is formed. There is a lot of shedding that can happen, and I mean, they talk about it a lot now. Actually, I recently saw an article about how they're talking about plastic bottles and how some of those plastics can shed into the water, and that can be harmful to your health. Well, just like any other chemical or things made of plastic, these things can shed. And so a lot of people maybe can withstand this for a long time. They can detox it from their body. However, if you have a gene mutation that stops you from being able to detox these things, these heavy metals are so dangerous. Makes me like, I need to like put it down because it's grossing me out talking about what's inside them. And it grosses me out even more knowing that they were in my chest. But so knowing that some people, almost 50% of Americans already have an issue with detoxing these different toxins from our body, then adding something else in that is just completely filled with tons of toxins. And we already have an environment that has, our water has different heavy metals and toxins in them that our body needs to flush out. So adding anything to that with a body that already has some type of gene mutation or likely does have a gene mutation, I just wish I would have known that these things even existed and that they were a possible risk, and just an added complication that you can put into your body. So I wrote ingredients, yeah. So I really, really wish I would have known about the ingredients. I'll list a couple of them. You can really easily find the ingredients on the FDA website, on the manufacturer's website. They do list all of those things that are found in the implants. So it's not hard to find. And I just wish I would have known. In my mind, I just thought it was just silicone. And from what I knew about silicone, it was fairly safe to put in your body. So, yeah, I wish I would have known it. Excuse me. So, those are kind of like the logistics of the things I wish I'd known. I do want to touch a little bit on just the community of women that I wish I had known about. I'm going to talk about that at the very end, though. One really, really important thing that I'm kind of just now learning about is the FDA process. So I did mention that recently a large, well, not a large group, we're hoping to get a larger group next year. We're hoping that the FDA approves it because we've asked for a public hearing for breast implants, and so far the FDA has only granted us a small meeting with about 20 to 25 women. Actually, this month they went to Washington, D.C. and talked to FDA. And so this process is really definitely doesn't go quickly. And there's a lot of, petitions that need to be signed. I'm going to put all of that in the support video. It's really important for me to share the different places where you can get involved, help, and also connect with other people that are going through what you're going through. But so the FDA process. So I do for sure want to recommend a documentary that's on Netflix right now, and it's called The Bleeding Edge. It talks not just about breast implants. It actually only touches on breast implants for a very short time in the documentary. It's mostly about the FDA process and how it works in regards to medical devices. So they actually talk on different birth control devices that are implanted into your body. They talk about hip replacements. They talk about basically anything that is a medical device and the process in which they are approved through the FDA. This was something I had no idea about because truthfully, and I think this is most people that find themselves wanting to have cosmetic surgery is, well, it was approved by in other countries called different things, but you assume that they've been approved through this official process, through the government, and that they are safe. And those manufacturers about their product because the FDA with warnings. So it's important, like I said, to read those warnings, something I didn't know about. Also, I found out through this documentary and through just learning about breast implant illness and getting more involved in the legal aspect of it, there is a certain process in which certain devices can be approved through the FDA. And basically, it's like a grandfather type system, which is terrifying because what happens is new devices, because of science and the medical industry, and a lot of great things are happening, obviously, with medical devices. Like we can't, some of these medical devices are saving lives. So the process, they wanted to make this process a little bit easier for researchers and scientists to get these products approved and get them on the market to help people. So that's originally where this process came about. And this was like a grandfather process. So basically any devices that were produced after a certain year, if there, and I think it was like 1970s, something like that. So very long time ago, not current. If there was a previous model that was approved through this program, then they did not have to submit testing results, research studies, things like that. It would be automatically granted, able to put on the market without the proper testing or just with the promise of testing or something like that. Which means that you have, I wish I could have a visual for you because what happens is you have, say the first set of implants put out on the market, okay? And those are on the market, they were approved. Then in the next few years, they have a new material they want to try. They can, if it's the same company, if it's a similar enough product, they can basically put it on the market without testing it. And so this has happened so much over the past 40, 50 years that we don't even know what's in a lot of these products because they're not being tested. And so the craziest thing about all of this, and this is true in my case with these, they're allergen, it says right here, the brand, there was a previous model that had been recalled, that had been taken off the market because they were deemed unsafe. A lot of this happened about 10 years ago. All of this, these lawsuits are public knowledge and you can find them online. There was a Dow Corning, big lawsuit. All of these implants were taken off the market. However, the new models that were put out were grandfathered in, regardless of the fact that there was a previous model that they were being, slidden in through the FDA without, it just basically, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to explain this correctly. You really should watch the documentary if this interests you because it's absolutely insane. And so basically these are getting on the market even though they were approved underneath a faulty product that was taken off the market. It does not make sense. If you're looking at me thinking this doesn't make sense, you're right. It absolutely doesn't make sense. And so this is how a lot of the medical devices are approved in the United States. So I really wish I would have known that because one of the biggest things that made me think that these devices were safe was the fact that they had been approved through the FDA, which I've just, so in the documentary, actually, they actually have footage, actual video footage of actual FDA hearings, and you will hear them talk about these different products, and it's very, very interesting to watch. So definitely wish I would have known about the FDA processes and about how breast implants and other medical devices were approved. If I would have known that, I definitely would not have felt, knowing that the FDA approved these breast implants would have really done not a whole lot for me if I had known what I know now about the approval process. So definitely wish I would have known that. So like I said, I did want to talk about another thing I wish I would have known. And that really just is women's personal stories. And the fact that, at least at the time, now, I can only talk about now, because obviously I got my implants in 2013. So that was 5 years ago. I don't know if all of these women's stories were on the internet at the time. I can talk about now, though. So if I was getting implants now, I wish I would know the fact that there are hundreds of Facebook groups talking about breast implant illness. There are tens of thousands. I think in one of the groups alone, there's over 50,000 women talking about this. And I'm not in that group. When I was in that group, every single day, there was several women saying, today's my day, I'm getting explanted today. Like, if I would have known the sheer volume of just the amount of women that were talking about this and the amount of women that were having similar experiences with breast implants, I think just the sheer number alone is enough to just make you go, maybe there's something to this. And I think if I would have known this, then I would have been able to look more into reading their stories. I'll be honest, when you're going and looking at these things, when you're, most people with plastic surgery, breast implants, it's just something you really want. So it's not something, it's for cosmetic reasons. So you're not really thinking about your health necessarily. It's not like if you're getting a pacemaker or some kind of medical device like that. This is purely cosmetic for the most part. Breast cancer survivors, it's a different situation, but so you're not really thinking about the health aspect of it. I just wish I would have known that. For me, just a personal note, like, I wish I would have known that I would have gone from an extremely, extremely healthy individual that was strong and, very active, that I would have gone to every day, waking up wondering if I was going to have enough energy to get up and do the things that I need to do in a really short amount of time. Like, I wish, because what I was going to say was that when you are looking these things up on the internet, it's not always fathomable. Like, you hear the stories, or you watch the strange documentaries or medical mysteries that happen, and you see a woman with a moldy implant or a ruptured implant, and you think that it is so rare. You can't fathom it happening to you. And I just wish I would have known how many women are suffering and will continue to suffer, obviously, because this is something that's been going on since implants have been on the market. So I wish I would have known that it wasn't the oddity, it wasn't the rarity, and it wasn't just happening to such a small amount of women, that it's happening to so many women, and that these autoimmune responses aren't just super, super rare and only happen to very few people that are allergic to something in it. Like, it's just a natural thing that your body will do. It's a natural like autoimmune response for a healthy body to reject these things. That coupled with the ingredients that are found in here, also coupled with the fact that you're sitting on top of major lymphatic systems and major organs that are really, really vital for you to be healthy. I didn't think about those things. So, yes, I definitely wish I had known about how many normal women this was happening to, because a lot of times when we see those like plastic surgery gone wrong shows, it just makes you feel like it's so rare, and it's so not. And that's what I've come to find out. There's so much about breast implant illness that I have come to learn. There's so many things about these that I have come to learn. There are so many things about just your natural body physiology that I have come to learn about that, like, I can't unlearn. And I feel like this, if I would have known all of these things before I got implants, there's just no way that I could have made that decision. It's a lot of information to happen upon before getting breast implants. So that's why it's really important for me to share my story and for me to do these videos. And I'm really, really looking forward to these next few videos, and specifically talking about where to find support, where to read these other stories, where to learn about, the MTHFR gene mutation, where to, like I said, the Netflix documentary, where to just start to begin to look at these things, because it's not something that can be learned in one sitting. But like I said, it's a lot of information. And unfortunately, most of us don't start looking this deep into things until we are so sick we can't stand it. And we are compelled to look this information up and find answers. So it's really not just a natural thing for us to do when we want to get breast implants. When we want to get breast implants, that's just what we want. So I hope this video has been helpful in just giving people ideas of different avenues. Kind of once you get into this research, actual research, not just a Google, are breast implants safe? Because trust me, there are going to be plenty of websites, plenty of plastic surgeons on the internet saying, of course, they're perfectly safe because of XYZ, because the FDA said so. Well, we can look into that. We can go, this is public information, so we can go and look at the FDA hearings, find out exactly what they talked about, exactly how they were approved. If you watch this documentary, it's crazy. And it's very interesting, and it really makes you want to be your own advocate and your own researcher, because it's your body, and you really want to know what you're putting into it. So a lot of things I wish I would have known. And I hope that one day all of this will just be common knowledge for people before they consider getting any type of device implanted into their body. I hope that one day it's just common knowledge that maybe some of these things aren't safe, especially just because a certain entity says that they are. And yeah, I've learned so much. It is definitely something that cannot just be learned by a quick, simple Google search. These are specific things that we need to look up. The MTHFR gene mutation, different autoimmune responses that can happen with a foreign object in your body, the FDA approval process. Also that there's tons of medical professionals and dozens of different surgeons across the world that are talking about breast implant illness, that no longer are putting breast implants in women because of the dangers, and are having thriving businesses of explanting women because it's so common. The sheer numbers, like I said, really looking into that, I think would have been able to persuade me a little bit, because you know, originally I had thought, of course, there's some dangers, but they're so rare. It's just, you know, so not that common. So yes, I will definitely talk about more of the medical professionals, different groups, different places you can find women for support and doctors and things like that. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to, these chats get sent directly to my email. And so we can correspond if you have any specific questions or about anything I've talked about or just anything regarding breast implants in general. Something I didn't talk about that you would be curious to know before having surgery or considering plastic surgery or implantation of any kind. Yeah. I hope you guys are all having a really, really great Friday, and I will see you here next week. I'm going to change the times on these because I think that it's easier for Eastern Standard Time for me to do a little bit earlier. So I'll be here around the same time next week for the next couple of weeks at least. And if there's anything that you would like for me to talk about in a video that I don't already have planned, let me know, and I can do that. All right? Have a great day.